Hold on, I'm gonna put on my.
Hello, hello, ladies. All
My wife.
right. So check it. We had some technical difficulties in the beginning, but we are all here and accounted for. Hello, everyone. Hello, you people out there. Welcome to the table. This is what I'm calling it now. I just thought of that. This is the table, bringing everybody to the table to talk shop. This is a new regular series, a hangout discussions about all that it is to be black and queer. It's simply is called the table. All right. So my name is Hanifa Walida, and I am the filmmaker of the documentary You People, which some of you may know, may not know. If you don't know, it's a documentary that went down around 2006. It basically was my attempt to make the first music video that solely featured black lesbians and telling our story. But in doing that, in the process, the entire cast and crew were 30 black, Latin, and Asian lesbians, straight women, and trans men, all cooped up in a cozy, nice like in a brownstone in Brooklyn, and we made it happen. But we also had a couple of extra cameras rolling, and that produced what we now know as a documentary, People, beautiful experience. So today, I have joined with me two wonderful women who were in that brownstone those 2 days. We have Gloria Bello, coming out of LA, an amazing, amazing comedian, as you probably own an experience. And we have Red Summer, who is a poet, and she's also a filmmaker, currently living in Atlanta. So today we came together to discuss what's been going down. We came here to discuss basically what it is to be black and queer. I know that's kind of a big umbrella topic, but it's all kind of sparked from a article that I wrote a few days ago called "I Am the Red, Black, and Green in the Rainbow" comedian, and that sparked further discussion. So we're going to dive into that because this is really about what it is to be black and queer in America in 2015, where we have racial tension on this side and we have gay celebration on the other, and here we are in between. Just a few ground rules. We're trying to have a wonderful discussion with not just myself, Gloria, and Red, but also all of you who are joining us this evening. So, in the beginning, we three are going to just talk about it a little bit. We're going to talk shop a little bit, but we want to invite you all to ask questions or if you have comments. And in order to participate in that way, you just click. There's a little icon. It looks like a little Rubik's Cube icon. I think in your upper right corner of this Google Hangout, if you click that, you'll see the Q&A icon. If you click that, then you'll be prompted to ask whatever questions. Without saying, if you are a troll, you will be rendered invisible. I'm going to ignore you, so don't even bother. And also, I just want to also say that this is essentially a space for folks who identify as both black and queer. If you are neither, you're of course welcome to ask questions and to comment. But I want you to understand that this is not learn what it is to be black and gay one-on-one class in some sort of online university. We're not so much here to educate. We're here for each other. We're here to affirm each other in our existence in this context in America. We're here to talk shop. But again, we do want to welcome all. So come with the questions, but I will be selective to let you know right off the bat. If you are interested in tweeting about this, the hashtag is hashtag Black Rainbows. I thought of that. All right, so let's begin with just going over the timeline for the past couple of weeks. June 17th, Charleston. Racist ass white boy rolls up into the sanctuary of Christian folks at AME down there in Charleston and decides to kill 9 people, one of those being a senator. June 26th, marriage equality, SCOTUS gets it together, and now all those who want to marry can. June 28th, a young woman by the name of Bree Newsom climbs up a pole and snatches down the Confederate flag. So there's a lot going on. Not to mention all the things that's been going on just in this year alone, not to mention in 2014 on both sides of the fence as far as being black and queer. So let's start with this question. I'm just going to throw this out to you. Maybe Gloria, you can start first. I guess I would like for you guys to share regarding to that timeline. What was your thought process as these events unfolded in your life what have you, with the peoples, with yourself in your mind?
I think it was all a little bittersweet in a way. You know, it was kind of hard to take in the Charleston thing. I lived in South Carolina. I remember being in high school and protesting against the flags, and it just being such a strong symbol of hate is what we felt. We felt aggression. It's so interesting because I feel like they're very aggressive about the flag. Like their hate is very aggressive. Like, we're keeping this flag. It's very aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So when the families said that they forgave, that they were going to forgive Dylan, I found it remarkable. But I couldn't. Like, and maybe because I'm not, you know, I don't follow their same values, or I'm not sure what it is, but I couldn't forgive him, and I couldn't forgive that whole legacy that he's involved in. And I was still questioning why. So then the flag became a problem. You understand? Because then it became a problem. Now it's been a problem as far as I'm concerned. At least when I was in high school, it was a problem in South Carolina. But now,
so you were raised in South Carolina?
I went to high school in South Carolina, in Florence, which is a small town about an hour from Columbia. So it was interesting to me how now the flag became a problem when it's been a problem for so long, and that those people had to die, or those people died for it to become a problem that other people were able to see. It's really confusing to me. And I was listening to a senator the other day saying that he believes in taking it down as a sign of grace because the family showed such grace in forgiveness. And so he, as a Republican, felt that it would be grace to take it down.
Grace, choice of words.
That's fascinating, right?
Yeah. So he's not doing it because, you know, just historically speaking, it wasn't even a Confederate flag.
No, exactly. Right.
But
they're not interested. I don't feel like they're necessarily interested in the history of things.
Obviously not. Obviously not, because that's a flag that was designed in the 50s, I believe, in direct opposition to integration. You know, so you know, being that segregation was deemed illegal in this country, it should not be on a state building. Now, you want to paint your house, you know, the Confederate flag, and you know, you paying that mortgage, you go and do that. You know.
I agree.
You know, so with this going through your mind, you know, when you were saying bittersweet, when SCOTUS came down with a decision, what was your immediate reaction, honestly?
I cried. I was overwhelmed, and not so much for me, but when I think about those couples that have been together for so long and who've wanted to get married. And you know, I'd seen recently this video of this really sweet Black lesbian couple that lived in New Jersey. I mean, so cute, so sassy, loved them. And I thought, you know, they've been together for like 25 years. So I think of people like that. Now, I know the face of marriage equality is not that. It's very much not that. It's very much white men, and it does seem like it's about their privilege, and I get that. But there are Black queer people that can benefit from that, even if we weren't the intention, and we weren't.
What about you, Red? What was going through your mind when all this was going down?
Well, my partner and I are here in DC, and so we had actually debated going down to the courthouse and being out there with the people while they were preparing for the announcement, I guess it would be, and decided, not to. I don't know if it was traffic or what it was. We decided not to go down there. Went on about our day, and someone sent Courtney a picture of the White House, and it was lit up in rainbow colors. And we were on our way somewhere and turned the car around went to the White House. And we parked really close. It was great. We were able to get a park like literally across the street. And so as we were walking up, just kind of talking, and the White House looked like it always looked, you know, especially at night. But we looked to the right, and there was the purple first. And it was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, we got to keep going. Like, we got to go until we can see this entire thing. Like, the picture on Instagram was not going to do it. Like, I needed to see everything. And as we kept walking, you know, we're looking through the trees, you know, at this point. So we're seeing little bits of the lights, you know, coming out a bit at a time until it opens up. And we just kind of stood there in shock for a second. I don't think we had really paid really close attention to the gravity of the moment, because in different states, you know, it had been legal already. So we're in DC, it was legal in DC. I don't think we really paid a lot of attention to it. But when we were standing there and we're in this crowd of people, and people are like crying and taking pictures and like helping each other, like, here, I'll take your picture if you take my picture, like this kind of thing. And it wasn't like, I'll take the queer Black people's pictures, but I won't, like, you know, kind of like one of the Obama election day. It felt like that. Like, this is a moment that is something other than what we always have to live through and always have to deal with. Like, this is a turning point. This is important, and stand here and experience it. Like, be in it. And we just stood there and just like hugged each other. And people were just like, congratulations to you too. Congratulations to you, you know. And
you know, I really appreciate both of your reactions to it. I really, really do. But I don't think I've really took a moment to experience the weight of that change. You know, I was honestly, for me, I was still numb to it. You know, when it came down the pipe, and it's because of I think the political stance I've had around that particular fight. You know, just like you said, Gloria, it being the face in the fight, or at least financed by affluent white gay men. And I've always felt that it was the thing that didn't most affect people of color in general, but definitely people of color who also are queer. You know, because a lot of people of color who are queer, you know, forget about healthcare. You know, trying to keep a job. You know, these are things that were prevalent for me. But even more importantly, during that time, I think I was really, like, I was worn the hell out. I was just done with this country in general. So it almost was like it was anticlimactic for me. You know, and just one other note, I'll move on from it. I think my biggest issue outside of the romanticism of marriage, like, hey, you want to get married, you're going to do, that's a beautiful thing. I will come to the wedding and I've tackled a friend for a bouquet. You know what I mean? I'm down for the cultural cachet of being married. But I think my issue with it is that I thought, as queer folks, all of us queer folks, that we could have, this was an opportunity to really push the envelope for everybody, to be thought leaders, if you will, in this idea of the institution of marriage and how that manifests in this country. You know, because it's wonderful once you're married, you get all these perks and privileges. But I always said, it's like, is this really a gay issue? Because if you're straight, you know, but you're not married, and your partner is in the hospital, and your partner's parents don't like your ass, you're not seeing her or him either. You know what I mean? So it's that the privileges of marriage, as opposed to how that kind of circumvents just our autonomy as citizens. I should be able to say who I want to see, who should see me or be allowed to see me if I'm sick in the hospital, or who should make the decisions for me, so forth and so on. And that should be an easy process. So that's been my kind of conflict. So when it came down the pipe, it's like I wanted to be yay, but I was just so numb at that point between Charles and all the other crap that's been going down. And in the back of my head, I'll be honest, I've always, when I thought of the marriage equality bill, it was just these pink-faced white boys that would come. That's the image that I had in my head. So it was hard for me to put my image, you know, in that equation, you know. So, but I appreciate you guys kind of saying like what, you know, you being. I didn't know you was in DC now, girl. But anyway, you actually being there.
Right.
You was in Atlanta.
From Atlanta, right? And where in Atlanta, there was no conversation around it being legalized anytime soon, as long as it was still state by state basis. And although Atlanta's supposed to be this black gay mecca and this, you know, wonderful haven for black queer people, that still was something that nobody was even thinking that they would have available to them. So many of my friends there were like, oh yeah, we're going to have a wedding, but we're not getting married. You know what I'm saying? And we were very clear about the difference between the two. Friends who were having weddings in Atlanta around everybody, all their friends and family, but getting married in Florida, getting married, you know, in New York, getting married in all of these other places, and coming back still knowing that it was kind of just for show almost, because when you cross back home, when you get back into Georgia, it's not recognized.
It's an economic thing as much as it is anything else, right? When marriage was first became an institution, it was every bit a financial institution as it was, or spiritual, or whatever you call it. So be able to have the freedom to partake in it, whether you want to or not, but to have that as an option is financially, it's good for us.
I mean, so you're kind of implying, Gloria, that in a roundabout way, it can present opportunity for Black queer folks to get a foot up economically if they're able to bring their finances together in a legal way, you're saying? Yes. I never thought about that.
Yes, because I have friends who bought a house as they're not married. And the other one, because they're not married, what she's getting, and they're a mixed race couple, what she's getting as far as her taxes and getting dinged on her taxes was going to be huge because they were not married. Now, they were waiting. They were like, you know what? This may go our way. Let's just hold off for a second to see if it does. Going to be getting what was going to be hurting her economically was just ridiculous.
Beautiful.
So it is financial.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And stability, right? Like that's one of the things. Who doesn't want that? That's something that we can all, you know, if we want stability, having somebody that you're married to can be a part of that as well. Like having that as a family, a unit, having that kind of unit.
Well, let's move on to the phenomenon that happened on Facebook. But before we do that, for those who are now newly joining us, if you do have questions or comments, you can ask that in the Q&A section. Just click the little Rubik's Cube looking icon, and there you'll see the Q&A icon, and there you go. You'll be prompted to ask questions or make comments, and we'll try to address as many as we can. And also, this is you people, the table, kind of like a round table, just us talking shop. So I'm curious, and we're here with Gloria Bigelow and Redstone. I love that. Anyway, here we go. So I originally wrote the article because of this kind of phenomenon that was happening when marriage equality came about. You know, with the whole Facebook app, you can easily kind of filter over, you know, your profile picture with a rainbow. You know, and so folks started doing that. You know, me, as I just explained, I kind of held off, and I had mixed feelings. And then I saw on my timeline, anyway, I saw some of my heterosexual Black friends, some family members, do the same kind of overlay, but with the Pan-African flag colors of red, black, and green. And I was like, okay. You know, okay. You know, I didn't know quite. You know, it's kind of like I described in the article, kind of like a pinch in the pound. At the same time, like I get it, but I'm not quite sure what you're saying with that exactly. And then you read, and I'd love for you to talk on it. Then you came up with one where it was a mix of both flags together, and I was like, okay, That's what I'm trying to say. And I try to make my own in Photoshop. And, you know, and then I was like, no, that's still not quite what I want to say. And I explained that in the article as far as me being the red, black, and green and my experience as a black person in context of my experience of being queer. So like where are, you know, just getting back to this our identities as black queer folks. What, how can I ask this? What, as far as representing that in a public forum like, you know, Facebook, what does that look like for you with all that's going on? Or maybe, Reggie, I can start with you as far as your process in bringing those two flags together.
Well, I actually saw it on a friend of mine's page, and I commented like, yes, like, yes, this is it. Because like you, I have a lot of friends and a lot of family members and people who are on my page also, and some people, the conversation was that black queer people were not standing in solidarity on black issues. They were sidetracked or distracted by the marriage issue and were forgetting our commitment to our blackness. And, you know, I'm like, give me my day. Like, let me have my day. Let me have my moment. Like, I'm going to still be black tomorrow. I can get right back black tomorrow. But, like, let me have my day. Let me wave this other flag. And when I posted my picture, I said, like, I'm not choosing. I'm not picking one over the other. I'm not, like, picking one struggle to the detriment of the other. Like, black people will throw me under the bus just like queer white people will throw me under the bus when it, you know, when it fits them. And I'm in the middle, and my allegiances are split in those same very key and crucial ways that they are, based on race and culture and class and gender and all of those other things, including sexuality. So no, like, black people don't get to take my gay struggle for me, and gay people don't get to take my black for me. I'm going to be both everywhere I go.
How you feeling on that, Gloria?
Yeah, it was interesting because my girlfriend she couldn't, like, she wasn't happy. I wanted her to be more happy about marriage equality. I wanted her to be just, like, more happy. I was like, can you be more happy? And she was like, no, I'm still in Charleston. And I was like, I get that. I get it. I get that. But can you like be happy with me? Because this is a big deal. And she was like, no, it's great. But there was just an undercurrent that was just like hard to be. It was like hard for her to be as happy as she wanted to be, because she knew that we still had so long to go, such a far way to go. So I was able to somehow find the way to be like elated about marriage equality and still really sad about Charleston. And I think that you can be both. You know, I realized that I can walk and chew gum at the same time, and I can be really happy and really irritated about what's happening as well.
Well, I mean, you make a good point as far as not. I mean, I didn't really hear, you know, I didn't get any texts or maybe strange friends of mine like, hey, congratulations, you know, you know, as far as that kind of a celebration. But you know, what I started noticing in conjunction with this whole Facebook flag thing was, you know, certain videos coming out. I forget the young woman, but some young woman, the sister came out with something, and basically the whole premise of her argument, her video rant was, you're black before you're gay. Or the black experience precedes the gay experience. Or when I think she specifically said something around, you know, when you walk down the street, they can see the black, but you know, they can't see you being gay. Now, I mean, I would beg to differ, but But what I felt she was trying to say, and what I think even our allies, if you will, our straight allies, what I think sometimes in their language, there's always this separation between what it is to be black and what it is to be queer. It's like queer is an other thing or an add-on, you know, like this idea of blackness doesn't really include queerness. It's like, okay, you're black and queer, like it's this hyphenated, you know, existence. you know. And so that for me is where I get tight, you know. It's like I want to explain that you can't split them per se. So when you speak of blackness and what's good for blackness, this marriage equality in essence is good for blackness because more black people will be empowered. I mean,
Mhm.
mathematically, that sounds like that makes sense to me. You
Yeah, that's how I see it as well.
but there's this history, or rather lack of history, of Black queer history. So when we think of Black, history of Blackness, we know MLK and Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman and all these folks, who we all love and appreciate for having existed. But we don't hear Bayard Rustin, or there's like the one documentary about him, but he's not a part of our history. You
Yeah.
know, all these people, all these
Visibility
queer.
matters.
Say again.
That's why visibility matters all day.
All
Like
day.
that's why that's the thing. That's the thing with that's the thing in everything, right? It's because it's the proximity to somebody that you perceive as different that ends up changing you, right?
Mm,
So whether or not, like, growing up and having white friends, I don't see white people necessarily as the enemy because my proximity to them was close and I grew up with them. So I don't necessarily see them as the enemy. And I know I've changed people's opinions about having gay people in their life because they were like, oh, like I had students who at the end of the year, and I was like, yeah, they said, oh, miss, somebody started a rumor that you was les. And I was like, it's not a rumor if it's the truth. And they were like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, and it changes their idea because now they've interacted with somebody, they got to know somebody who loves and cared about them. So it's like, it's that visibility and it's that proximity, I think, that helps change things. So when we are black and queer, like black and gay all day in every aspect of our lives, we are changing the narrative.
mm. That's interesting you say that because I mean, what I experienced when we were when you people was on the college circuit, and it still is, by the way. But when you people had, a lot of feedback that I've gotten, a lot of feedback that I've gotten from professors, in particular professors that the majority of their class were black folks. Like maybe it was like a black family class or something like that, and they used this film, and that was the reaction. The reaction was, oh, she's like my auntie, or oh, that's my cousin. Oh, like really seeing us in the flesh, our body language, knowing that it is the same. There's not some otherness body language. We were all, raised in the black community, so our body language, our inflections, and our speech, the slang, the what we choose to talk about, and how we used to talk about how our passions are expressed. All of that comes from being black. But we're talking about queer shit. So and having us talk about queer topics in the black body, and rather a body language that black folks, or rather straight black folks, are accustomed to, or see as blackness, then that, I think that is something that was just revelational for a lot of people who have viewed the film who weren't queer, who were black but not queer. Like, oh, these are my people. Oh, okay. Or I can relate, and it's not like I feel like I'm being uh, um, educated in a way like, okay, this is the queerness thing, like it doesn't allow you to separate them. I think the movie doesn't allow you to separate the two existences. They have to exist together, or you can't. You don't. Your brain can't wrap around it otherwise. You have to keep them together.
And we had that same conversation that you were saying before in the film. Like, well, why do you have to worry about being queer? Like, you're black and everybody's going to see that you're black and that's just should be it. Like, no. It's not that
Exactly.
simple. Yay for you, but no.
Exactly. We have to, especially those of us who are masculine presenting, at least on the outside. That there's other hurdles that hurdles, or even invisibilities, because just speaking for myself, if I know that I am invisible, when I mean invisible, meaning that for all intents and purposes I am seen. Gloria, I think, went to go to UPS man, by the way.
Okay.
Okay. And that's why she's not there. But for all intents and purposes, when I say I'm invisible, I mean that I know that I'm being seen as a black man. You know, all of the, I'm giving whatever cues, or I'm giving people intentionally or not. I am invisible, so I am no longer queer. I am a black man, even though I do not identify as a black man.
Right.
So that is something that I always have to navigate. So whether when the young lady was like, well, you're black first and you're this, it's like, no, I have all my navigation. When I walk out the house, navigation is, okay, how am I going to navigate this world as a black person? How am I going to navigate this world as a woman? How am I going to navigate as a woman who looks like me? How am I going to navigate this world, when my black people recognize me as a woman that looks like me, and they got to try and figure that out through me. So there's a lot of navigating going on, and this is, like I said, in the film, we're just trying to, figure that out for ourselves. Hold on, we have someone that is, she has a comment in the question. She said, homosexuality existed in Africa prior to the arrival of the Europeans. With people, white people, I thought she was abbreviating with, she meant WT as in white. White people brought homophobia to Africa, not homosexuality. How can we help black people understand that homophobia is where's my English? How can we help black people understand that history of white supremacy in Africa, and how we can fight Pan-African homophobia, essentially? I know. I don't want to just throw big words like education, because that's what you got to dig nice and deep for. You know what I mean? That's not, readily accessed education.
And it almost has to happen one conversation at a time. I don't think there's a mass movement to educate black heterosexual people on homosexual history. That's not going to happen. They're not going to allow it, even if it was. So it literally has to be one conversation at a time.
I mean, listen, as far as just our understanding of African history, and I'm just saying African in the sense that I'm including in the whole continent, a continent of many countries and tribes. So we're not even at the level we can break down what tribe we're from, or where exactly in Africa and what did that culture dictate. We do the whole monolithic Africa thing. Pardon?
Even though I pick some and I send you pictures and I say, honey, for these your people. I found your people in this bush over here.
Listen, for someone who has done my fair share of traveling in the continent of Africa, I have seen my brother, I have seen my cousins, I was like, listen. Okay, but just to get, Gloria, just to update you, Kristen Child, she basically she had a comment saying that, that Europeans, what they brought to Africa was not homosexuality, but homophobia. That homosexuality exists in Africa, predating the existence of the Europeans arriving on their boat. And how can we begin to educate straight black folks of this history that is documented? And yes, perfect. That's a hard one.
I guess yes, but I don't feel the need to educate straight black folks. Just like I don't feel the need to educate white people. I just don't. Personally, I don't feel the need. I think everybody has their flags, right? And their crosses to bear, and their things that they are, being an activist about and moving forward to. And that one is not mine. Now, I will educate them by being myself and by just that proximity. Hope you can catch on through that. But because people will use history and historical context for all kinds of things. So to me, I don't know if it really matters whether or not. I guess it does. I guess it could. but I need you to be able to deal with me in the right now because I'm your sister.
Mm.
So whether or not you want to say, that was some, that's not African shit or whatever it is that you want to say, I need you to be able to deal with me in the here and now as your sister, as your auntie, as your teacher, as a person who cares about our community.
Exactly.
So I just, I can't take that one on. I can take on some other stuff, but that one I can't take on.
I feel inclined to take it on a little bit if I'm in a one-on-one conversation. Just like you said, this is about our community, and let's be really clear what that community is. It is an African American community. So if you're talking about what Africa ain't, honey, not for all intents and purposes, you ain't Africa either. and neither am I, and neither are my cousins, and neither are my peoples. Yes, there's the residual that has passed down. We all got rhythm, and we all keep a beat, and we have a certain inclination to do things a certain way, but a lot of what we know as our culture is something that is a part of our experience, good, bad, ugly, sweet, or whatever, of being in this country. So trying to I hear you, Gloria, like trying to argue over the status of homosexuality in Africa is something we can't do because we can't go back in time. We have what documentation we do, and you can choose to honor that. But but people are very selective in their reading. So you can put the book in their face, but they won't read it, or they won't read it the same way you're gonna read it, even though it's in plain English. Or they'll question it rather. They'll question it. So I hear you and not one to tackle that one, but it is something that when I have gotten in my confrontations, or rather I was in the mood to be confrontational with our people. That's something that I would take out of my pocket. Just what the Christian was mentioning. It's like if you want to go back to the roots, and seeing that all that is Africa is a gift, then this is in essence is a gift. They had the where to be able to relate to each other, because when we talk about sexuality, we're really not talking about who's fucking who. We're really not talking about that. We're talking about body language. We're talking about how we communicate with each other and how we choose to love each other in the broad sense of love, and the limitations or the lack of limitations that we give each other, in our expressions of love. Because there are gay folks who are celibate. You know what I mean? So we can't just isolate it, because I think with straight black folks, their crystal clear visual is two women in the bed together or two men in the bed together. Yeah. If they even give us the courtesy of a bed. You know what I mean? So getting that, to me, when those kind of things come up, is really about, you need to get out of my bedroom. But you should know it's just not about my bedroom, that my sexuality is the language of the body. It really is. And so if Africans were had a deep understanding of that, to say that they did not embrace homosexuality kind of undercuts this kind of romantic vision you have of Africa.
Right.
We have another thing coming down the pipeline here. Again, you're at the You People table here. Sit at the table with all of us, talking about what it is to be black and queer in America. The hashtag is Black Rainbows. This is being recorded for prosperity, so you always can access it later. And we have Gloria Bigelow, comedian extraordinaire, and we have Red Summer, a poet and filmmaker. And we have a question. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Let me see. Okay. How do you feel? Oh, I think you might have lost Red. I'm sure she'll pop back on. Oh, there she go. Okay. How do you feel about folks who think of the usage of the word queer instead of same-gender loving is describing to white gay culture? It's describing to white gay culture. Why do you choose that term? I think what she's trying to ask is, now we're talking about just linguistics. We're talking about the words that we choose to describe ourselves. We have queer, we have same-gender loving, we have straight old-fashioned gay, we have lesbian, we have all these terminologies. And I think what she's trying to grab at is how, as black queer folks, how are we describing ourselves? What is the language that we're giving to ourselves in the midst of that? I think that's what she's asking. Well, listen, I'm somewhat vocal on the whole terminology thing. I think it's not so much an issue of race, but more so of class. If you are privileged to the extent to have gone to a 4-year institution, even a 2-year institution, took gender studies 101, you're going to get all the labels, you're going to get all the definitions of those labels, and you're going to be practiced in using them. Now, for the rest of us, the majority of us who may not have gone to college, this may not be an option, I've always felt I've never felt that I should impose certain terminologies on anyone if they don't want to use it. My whole thing is about communication. So however you want to call yourself, you know what I mean, however you want to communicate, let's make that happen. Let's find a common ground and let's continue the conversation. But I don't want to stop the conversation because you're using this word or using that word. There is no right way to express yourself about yourself, you know.
And I guess my question about the question is there like some sort of discrimination attached to the term queer that we're accessing, that people are finding offensive? Is it like reappropriation? Like, where is the pushback of the usage of the word? Because my understanding was that this was a term of convenience, right? Like, so that I do not have to say LMNOP, every time I want to have this conversation. Like, I can say queer and you know what I'm talking about and we can keep going. There are also people who do not fit under those particular terms, like a woman who is who was same gender loving but has fallen in love with a trans man. Like, is she a lesbian? Is she like what? Where she could be queer and it could be easy and she could go on with her life. Like,
it's the umbrella term.
Yeah. So there are so many ways that people are showing up in so many ways that it makes it succinct. And we don't have to keep adding letters to the alphabet, because I'm not gonna do that. I'm old. I don't have time for that. Element P, Q, R.
Gloria.
I was on a list of something like, top queer something something, and my mother was so offended by it because she thought that they were calling me queer, like in a bad way.
Wow.
So in her mind, she's still of the time and of the age where queer was an insult. It was, that was an insult for a while. So now we have, as a community, kind of like reclaimed that word as an umbrella term that means we don't fit your stuff. We have our own thing. So that's different, and that's what I like about queer. Like, you don't know what you don't know. We just not that. We not that. We free, whatever that is. We're free up under here. Queer. That's what that is. So, I mean, I identify all the time as a lesbian because I just want to claim that, and I just want to be visible as that.
I'm sorry.
I just think it's important to do that because I know when I was growing up a young dykeling, I didn't see or didn't know a lot of lesbians that I related to. And so I didn't know whether or not I fit in or could fit in or would fit in. So I just feel like it's part of that visibility matters to be like, yeah, I'm a lesbian. I like girls. I think it's important.
In the statement. It's interesting that you use the word reclamation, and just because we're talking about being both black and queer, it made me think of a couple of things. Reclamation of words. Queer used to be a negative connotation, very similar to, faggot or dyke or whatever. Not for nothing, dyke has been reclaimed in many ways. It's the kind of word that we can say amongst ourselves, but you can't say it if you're not one, type of thing. But even in relation to, say, the N-word, could you even correlate the two? And I'm only bringing the N word up in correlation to us, reclaiming, words like dyke and queer, what have you, because of the correlation. You speak a little bit about this, and you people read, but this kind of conflict between wanting to equate the gay struggle to the civil rights struggle, and where, a lot of white gay men is, that's kind of their thing, like, this is just like the civil rights struggle, and we all understand as black people how we kind of like, I don't know about that, not quite. But when you brought up this whole thing about reclamation, I'm curious to what you guys think about, is it as deep as us reclaiming the N word? I can't. For some reason, I don't want to say it right now, but I'll be saying it like going out of style, depending on. I think we lost Red, but hopefully she'll come back to us. But is that the same as the reclamation of words like dyke and queer?
Well, you know how you said with dyke, it's like I can call myself that, but you better not call me that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of that.
Okay.
That to me seems more like, if you're going to correlate it, that seems more. But I don't know why queer doesn't feel that way. Like, if someone was like, oh, you're a queer, that wouldn't hurt me. But
I think there's not much documentation of that being a negative word. If you weren't of that generation, it's like that small window.
Yeah. And maybe the historical legacy of it. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't see that happening. Like, how queer has become like a term of convenience. A term of convenience. I don't see the N word becoming that. I don't think it could be like a term of convenience for what? Like, we claimed it and changed it, you know what I mean? I don't think it's a term of, queer has a purpose. It's an umbrella term to be inclusive of all the rainbow. I don't think the N word does that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't do it at all. That word will always be for our usage only in whatever context we use it in. Yeah, so yeah, I wouldn't equate. But I think where I was getting at. Hold on, I'm just gonna turn on my own light here a little bit. Hold on. All right. Now I got a little going on here. Yeah. And then we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. I want to respect your time, but I think that what this speaks to is that these let me be careful with my words. I think that people should be mindful on how they connect the dots in struggles, and that it's not as simple as black and white, for lack of a better term. That there are complexities in struggles. It's not like after the civil rights, our struggle was over. And just like after this marriage equality, the struggle is not over. So when we bring class into it, when we bring, different people's individual histories into it, because, not every black person is comfortable with saying the N word, so I always got a little kind of nick, a little pinch, when white gay folks would always make that correlation. Because I feel like it was a little bit of a piggyback riding. And historically speaking, it is actually. We did pave the way for gay rights to happen. I mean, Stonewall was that's sparked off by people of color, but even before that, we paved the way. We got motherfuckers ready.
I think if they spoke of it more as a part of the continuum, then I would feel differently about it.
Boom, boom.
You know what I mean?
Well said. Yes.
It's when they're like, when they start using like the bus metaphors and stuff like that, I'm like, get out of here with all that. Like, stop using the bus metaphor. Like, but I think if we look at it as like a continuum, like we're working on this and we're working on this and we're working on this, then I'm more apt to want to have those kinds of discussions, and then for similarities, but not like because we can do that with women. Like, we can do that with like the struggle for women. We're still on a continuum. We still haven't gotten there yet. We can also for Black people, like we've gotten some rights and we're still not there yet. And now we've just got marriage equality, but you can still be fired from your job. So we're still not there yet. Like they're all still rolling.
I also felt that when they always made that correlation with the civil rights movement, it was kind of a side way of trying to absolve themselves from being racist. When I say them, I mean white gay folks. You know, or dealing, you know, just basically being a white folk. At this point, forget about the gay thing, you're just being white now. You're trying to absolve yourself or, you know, kind of do a sidestep from dealing with your own internalized racism, you know. So that's why I think I always had a problem, you know, with that. But I agree with you. It's more of a continuum than, you know, they being parallel to each other, you know, or in each other's image. Let me wrap this up. I'm just gonna give you guys some last moments to any last words you may have, anything that's going on with your Black queer lives, professionally or otherwise, going on you want to share with the folks. Let's do that right now. Anyone can start. Red.
Red, I'm home planning a wedding.
Congratulations, girl.
That's exciting.
Yes.
It is exciting.
You better use the rights. You better use the rights.
Absolutely.
You know, her and her father have been planning this wedding for a minute. It ain't like they just thought of it all of a sudden because the marriage equality came through.
No,
That's right. It came at a great time.
Use her rights. You got your rights, you might as well use them. No?
Right.
You're there.
Absolutely.
Present.
That's sweet.
Oh, yes, that's the pressing issue of the moment. I'm an artist and all that great stuff. Yes, however, my entire life.
I must ask you to at least tell them a little bit about your film that has to do with Black queer Muslims in Atlanta. You got to plug that.
Yeah, I did a documentary called Al-Nisa, Black Muslim Women in Atlanta's Gay Mecca, about a group of women that actually wasn't a group when we started. I started with the question, like, if this is the Black gay Mecca, then where are the Black gay Muslims? Like,
Right?
yeah. We started off as 5 women and has now grown to a group of 15.
All
so,
right. Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
the documentary is the story of our first time being in the room together.
I love that.
As a group.
Well, as a Black queer person who was raised in Islam, I so thank you for that film. You know, and being that voice, because I think a lot of times, and maybe we can say this for another conversation, but I think so many times when people think of religion and homosexuality, usually it's Christianity that they think of, and Islam is the second largest faith, umbrella faith of Black folks in this country. So I'm glad that you put that out there.
Yeah.
What's good with you, Gloria?
You know, just telling jokes, writing a book. That's what I'm doing. Telling jokes.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the book about? Tell us.
Congratulations.
Yes.
About my time in New York. All of that.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Well, listen, folks, I ain't got much to say, but that this is the beginning of a regular series. I ain't going to say weekly yet. I just wanted to try it out, but I do want to, one, reconnect with some of the folks who were in the Brownstone but more importantly, to reconnect with a lot of things that were discussed in the Brownstone and kind of creating a safe space like it was in that Brownstone for those 2 days for Black queer folks to come together and talk a little shop. So I do want to continue this series. But otherwise, you people is still for sale. If you want the DVD, there is a link up there in the showcase area. And if you want, you people is available for digital download or rental as well. And you can find all this out. You can just join our Google Plus group right here. That's also up in the showcase area. You can just quickly click that and boom, you're in. Or of course, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/youpeople. And we're there too. So you can have access to all of this from there as well. I also put up in the showcase, I put both Gloria and Red's site, so you can check them out as well. And bada bing, bada boom. Thank you, ladies, for your time and intelligence and laughter and realness. and thank you all out there for joining us. Thank you for your questions. And again, this will be recorded and archived on YouTube, and I'm going to put in all the places that I did mention as far as Facebook and Google Plus. And stay tuned. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Fred.
Bye, Gloria. Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.